only released on small labels. Big-time record companies were strictly for the elite, for music that was sanitized and pasteurized. Someone like myself would never be allowed in except under extraordinary circumstances. But John was an extraordinary man. He explained that he saw me as someone in the long line of a tradition, the tradition of blues, jazz, and folk, not as some newfangled wunderkind on a cutting edge. Not that there was any cutting edge. Things were pretty sleepy on the Americana music scene in the late 50s and early 60s. Popular radio was at a sort of standstill and filled with empty pleasantries. It was years before the Beatles, the Who, or the Rolling Stones would breathe new life and excitement into it. What I was playing at the time were hard-lipped folk songs with fire and brimstone servings, and you didn't need to take polls to know that they didn't match up with anything on the radio. "I understand sincerity," is what he said. John spoke with a rough, coarse attitude, yet he had an appreciative twinkle in his eye. Recently, he had brought Pete Seeger to the label. He didn't discover Pete, though. Pete had been around for years. He'd been in the popular folk group The Weavers, but had been blacklisted during the McCarthy era and had a hard time, but he never stopped working. Hammond was defiant when he spoke about Seeger, that Pete's ancestors had come over on the Mayflower, that his relatives had fought the Battle of Bunker Hill. For Christ's sake, can you imagine those sons of bitches blacklisting him? They should be tarred and feathered. "I'm going to give you all the facts," he said to me. "You're a talented young man. If you can focus and control that talent, you'll be fine. I'm going to bring you in and I'm going to record you. We'll see what happens." He looked at the calendar, picked out a date for me to start recording, pointed to it and circled it, told me what time to come in and to think about what I wanted to play. Then he called Billy James, the head of publicity at the label, told Billy to write some promo stuff on me, personal stuff for a press release. Billy dressed Ivy League like he could have come out of Yale. Medium height, crisp black hair. He looked like he'd never been stoned a day in his life, never been in any kind of trouble. I strolled into his office, sat down opposite his desk, and he tried to get me to cough up some facts, like I was supposed to give them to him straight and square. He took out a notepad and pencil and asked me where I was from. I told him I was from Illinois, and he wrote it down. He asked me if I ever did any other work, and I told him that I had a dozen jobs, drove a bakery truck once. He wrote that down and asked me if there was anything else. I said I'd worked construction, and he asked me where. "Detroit." "You traveled around?" "Yep." He asked me about my family, where they were. I told him I had no idea, they were long gone. "What was your home life like?" I told him I'd been kicked out. "What'd your father do?" "Electrician." "And your mother, what about her?" "Housewife." "What kind of music do you play?" "Folk music." "What kind of music is folk music?" I told him it was handed-down songs. I hated these kind of questions. Felt I could ignore them. Billy seemed unsure of me, and that was just fine. I didn't like answering his questions anyway. Didn't feel the need to explain anything to anybody. "How'd you get here?" he asked me. "I rode a freight train." "You mean a passenger train?" "No, a freight train." "You mean like a boxcar?" "Yeah, like a boxcar. Like a freight train." "Okay, a freight train." I gazed past Billy, past his chair, through his window across the street to an office building where I could see a blazing secretary soaked up in the spirit of something. She was scribbling, busy, occupied at a desk in a meditative manner. There was nothing funny about her. I wished I'd had a telescope. Billy asked me who I saw myself like in today's music scene. I told him nobody. That part of things was true. I really didn't see myself like anybody. The rest of it, though, was pure hokum. Hophead talk. I hadn't come in on a freight train at all. What I did was come across the country from the Midwest in a four-door sedan, 57 Impala, straight out of Chicago, clearing the hell out of there, racing all the way through the smoky towns, winding roads, green fields covered with snow, onward, eastbound through the state lines, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. A 24-hour ride, dozing most of the way in the back seat, making small talk, my mind fixed on hidden interests, eventually riding over the George Washington Bridge. The big car came to a full stop on the other side and let me out. I slammed the door shut behind me, waved goodbye, stepped out onto the hard snow. The biting wind hit me in the face. At last I was here, in New York City,
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.